need no super PAC. Bernie Sanders has our back. It's whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Bernie or bust. Bernie or bust. Bernie or bust.
The city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, site of this year's Democrat convention, and you heard Bernie supporters sounding off on the march earlier today in the streets of Philadelphia. With Debbie Wasserman Schultz on her way out as Democrat National Committee chairman, the convention was gavelled into session this afternoon by someone who has been in the media spotlight, maybe not for the right reasons. Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake.
I hereby call the 47th Quadrennial Democratic National Convention to order.
Now, as you look live inside the convention hall, I can tell you that there is still some disorder. The Bernie folks are there. They are making their displeasure felt, and we will continue to monitor what is being said there at the podium at the Democratic National Convention. Now, we're interested in what you have to say, and we invite you again to call in with your comments at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Again, telecommuting or televisioning in as Newsmax New York is in transition. The man for whom this program is named, Steve Malzberg, and also with us, a good friend who you see on both our programs. He is our Newsmax chief political columnist and White House correspondent, John Gizzi, tonight from the convention hall in Philadelphia. John, give us a sense of the mood there tonight.
Well, the mood here tonight, JD, is one of excitement, tension, disorder, and frustration. Very simply, despite their hero's call to join hands with Hillary Clinton and not invoke his name, Bernie Sanders followers insist on chanting his name. They interrupted a lion of the civil rights movement, Congressman Elijah Cummings, in his capacity as chairman of the Platform Committee, and they continue to chant "No TPP," a reference to the trade agreement that is so controversial with Democrats. Very clearly, this should be Hillary Clinton's convention, but it's not.
John, what do you think is going to happen when Bernie Sanders takes to the podium and then tells everyone, as he did earlier today and got booed for it, when he addressed his supporters outside the convention, and says we have to make sure Donald Trump isn't president and we have to make sure that Hillary Clinton is? Can we expect disruption there and chance at that point as well?
Steve, my answer to your question is twofold. When Bernie Sanders is introduced, there will be a demonstration unheard of for a candidate who was not the nominee since 1960, when Adlai Stevenson was given a hero's welcome that dwarfed that of the candidate who had the delegates, John F. Kennedy. You watch. He will urge his supporters, as he did earlier today outside in Pennsylvania, and as he's done on Twitter, defeat Donald Trump and support Hillary Clinton. He will have done his job, but his supporters, they're still upset about the WikiLeaks that have come out, and many are talking more about helping Senate candidates to make Bernie Sanders chairman of the Budget Committee rather than electing Hillary Clinton president.
Well, gentlemen, we can tell you that Donald Trump is doing his best to reach out to Bernie's backers. Let's check out the Donald earlier this afternoon at a rally in Roanoke, Virginia.
50% of that party is Bernie Sanders, almost. And they're very passionate, and that's a much more passionate side. Her people, they fall asleep, okay? They fall asleep, they're watching With Bernie's people, they're really out there. They say what you want about Bernie Sanders. He got it on free trade.
So there's a word of flattery or agreement with Bernie Sanders and his bunch. And it's interesting, John, the DNC this afternoon issued an apology to Senator Sanders for some of those emails discussing his religious beliefs. Is that just too little too late to mollify Bernie and his supporters?
Bernie knows that his movement, even without him, must have another day to fight. And he could never live, I'm sure, with being blamed for electing Donald Trump as the 45th president of the United States. On the other hand, I would be holding back from you, JD and Steve, and friends out in television land, if I didn't say his supporters are not mollified. I talked to former Senator Paul Kirk of Massachusetts, a Sanders superdelegate. He's going to support Hillary Clinton, but he still believes that his candidate got some rough and underhanded treatment, and hence the WikiLeaks coming out have really had an impact on this convention.
Gentlemen, let's go to the phones, and again, we're headed for California, La Habra, where Frank is on the line. Frank, welcome to Newsmax TV.
Oh, thank you very much. I love you guys. I watch you every day. I wanted to comment on, I know all these protests are going on the floor in the Democratic convention, but from my experience, it doesn't seem to, in the end run, my parents were Democrats, and I tried to talk to them their whole life, and until the day they passed away, they would not change, no matter what truths I told them. That is my fear.
Well, what about that, Steve? The notion that no matter the compelling evidence of Hillary, her emails, all the problems she has, that Democrats will vote for the Democrat nominee this November.
Well, I think a great deal will. But when 68% don't trust her and think she's dishonest, that's the new number from CNN, 68. This is only going to make that number worse. And when they find out, the Bernie supporters, that she hired Debbie Wasserman Schultz to have a prominent place as honorary chairman of her campaign, you're going to have a significant number, and it may not take a large number. John and JD and Frank, it may not take a large number of Bernie supporters to stay home or vote third party or fourth party to make the difference in the election. If you could get 10 solid percent or 15 solid percent or maybe even less to stay home, stay away from Hillary, that could tilt the election in key swing states to Donald Trump.
Funny you should mention that, gentlemen, because the new polls are out. Should we call it a bounce or maybe a post-convention bump for Donald Trump? We can tell you that things are working out right now. The latest CNN ORC poll has to worry Hillary. Take a look at, this is not just Trump and Hillary head-to-head, but here it is. 46% of respondents now back Donald Trump. 28% are with Hillary. 15% with New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, the Libertarian. 4% for Dr. Jill Stein. If we go by that with all those people on the ballot, a 15% bounce for Donald Trump. John Gizzi, could that possibly hold up?
I don't believe it will hold up, JD, because organized labor, the Democratic super PACs, the Democratic National Committee will do all they can to hurl invective at the controversial Republican nominee, by far the most controversial candidate to carry the Republican standard since Barry Goldwater in 1964. And I think you're getting what I'd call a sneak preview of the Trump invective coming from the podium. We've seen ads today showing comments from his speeches and how children are watching them. We've heard comments about a basketball team chanting, "Build that wall." This is only the beginning. So I don't believe those numbers will hold up.
John, let me throw in real quick. We've not seen any commercials from Trump. Nothing. I don't think it's going to be 15, 16 points either. That will not hold up. But we've seen nothing. And there's so much. The Benghazi families, the women who say that they were intimidated, their lives were ruined by Hillary, and plus the Clinton Foundation taking money from countries that kill gays. All of that, I hope, is yet to come out in commercials. So I think it'll balance it quite well.
And when you think about all of that is, go ahead, John, comment on it. You got about 30 seconds.
Well, I'd have to say, stay tuned for further developments on that. It'll be interesting to see if Hillary Clinton gets a similar bounce after this convention. It would be highly unusual for the candidate of the party in the White House not to get a bounce, and that may well be the story of this convention here in Philadelphia.
All right, John Gizzi, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time. We'll be visiting with you later this week. Brother Malzberg, you hang in there. And those of you calling in, we want to get to your comments. If you're on the line or on hold, we'll get to you at 1-877-Newsmax. When we come back, the GOP and the LGBT community, you heard what Tom DeLay said earlier. Will that community hang with the Democrats? Jim Hoft of the GatewayPundit.com will be with us. Stay